Buddy, I think we're live on YouTube and it's going live and then we're going to record it. But today, I tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to, every morning when I'm home and not traveling, I go into my little girl Raina's school and daycare and I get up really early every morning, 3 o'clock, 2 o'clock, 3:30. And by 5:30, you know what? I'm stir crazy and I go into the daycare to make sure everything's going okay. And by 6 o'clock, I'm in there and I've made a pot of coffee sometimes and sit there. And all these little kids come in, and it's kind of amazing how these little kids just crawl up in my lap, Papa, Papa, Papa. You know what? Some of them, when we first got them, I tell you what, they was a bunch of Indians. You never seen anything like it. And some of them had a vocabulary as the little 3, 4, 5 year olds that I just could not even imagine the vocabulary, that they had. But anyway, long story, short story is I found out one thing. And you know what I found out? I found out a lot of kids love stories. And a lot of kids will be eating candy and doing this and this and this. And I've shared this a lot of times when I do a conference or a seminar. I'll tell stories of how I was raised. And my entire life, the way I was raised is probably a little bit different than most people. But the way I was raised is that everything had value. And in the financial realm, at a young age, my mom and dad taught me how to handle a few pennies and nickels and dimes and quarters and $50 back in the old days. And then we went to dollars. And as long as I spent money to make money, it was perfectly okay. But you could never spend money on anything that cost you, and you'd never get any value out of it. So in consideration, let's look at a candy bar. You want to know something? If you bought a candy bar and you spent your money, once you ate it, you had enjoyment of eating it, but guess what? That money you spent on that candy bar was gone. My grandma Landers, my dad's mom, she was a little bit different than what my mom was and her family and my dad. And you know what? They was extremely wise, mom and dad. I tell you, I miss them so much. They was my mentors. They taught me so much. And they taught me how to listen. My mom knew how to buy, how to sell, how to trade. And not only did you need to know how to make money, you need to know how to invest money. And the two of them, I tell you what, they was pretty sharp. But the story I want to tell you today is I was about 8 or 9 years of age, and Terry Spencer, my old buddy that teaches on the courtrooms of heaven, he always tells me, he says, Ray, when you teach, tell the story on baby Ruth. I just love that story. And you got to realize that when you've been taught all your life, you train up a child in the way they should go, and when they're old, they're not going to depart from it. Do you believe that? When they're old, they'll not depart from it? Well, it's a proven fact from the time a child's born to age 7, 90% of their characteristics is formed in them. Now at age 8, it's like having a brand new computer and you're putting all kinds of input in it, all kinds of apps, this, and this, and this. And then what you do, you actually start downloading things that you need to have out of your computer. Well, for 7 years, everything's being put into a child. But age 8, the brain, your brain, believe it or not, things start changing. And you start sharing what's been put on the inside of you. Now, you could be my age, and at the age of what I am right now, guess what? A lot of the things that you've been taught when you was young is still in you. Now, my wife loves spaghetti. She loves lasagna. She loves pizza. She loves that. Me, I like meat and potatoes. I like anything out of the garden. I love everything off the fruit trees. You know what? But I was raised to eat a whole lot different than what my wife was. I was born and raised on a farm. Billy Sue, her family, now Wayne, her daddy, he was a trucker and also a farmer, but he lived in town. And I got to tell you one thing. Excuse me. One moment. I need a drink. Billy Sue's mom loved to make spaghetti. Now, I just eat spaghetti, but I didn't like spaghetti. But you train up a child in the way they should go, and when they're old, they won't depart from it. And even to this day, the way I eat is the way I ate when I was young. Well, the story about baby Ruth, I'm going to write a book on it. And Tina, this is also for you. Tina, listen to me. This happened several months ago, but just recently with all these little kids at the daycare wanting to hear stories and this and this and this. And the kids has no understanding, none of them has any understanding about anything. Just gimme, 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 gimme. And you know what? Some of them's 5 years old. You know, they haven't been taught nothing. All they know how to do is spend, spend, spend. I don't think they've ever been taught the four principles. That's very important. And I don't care how old you are or how young you are. The first thing you do when finances comes into your hand, guess what? You give some of that money away. Really? Oh yeah, give it. Give it to somebody that needs it. Buy them something. Give it to them. You know what? As a Christian, you got to understand how to give first fruits. You need to understand how to tithe. You also need to know how to tithe to yourself. So people say, what? Tithe to yourself? Oh, yeah, it's scriptural. Set aside 1/10 of everything you have, and out of that tithe that you set aside for yourself, do you know you actually take money out of it to go on a vacation? You know, the children of Israel went to where? Jerusalem for Passover. Guess what? They took a week off. They might have took 2 weeks off. But guess what? They had the finances to do it. A lot of people today, they go on vacation. Guess what they do? They put on the credit card. That's here and there. But the bottom line is they must not have been trained and equipped to understand the first thing you do is give a little away. Second thing is you save. The third thing you do is invest. And the fourth thing you do is enjoy life with your family, your wife, your husband, whatever. Enjoy it. Enjoy it. Enjoy it. Don't bury yourself into debt like this nation is. You know, back in the late 90s, I wrote a book, Wealth to Mammon. And in that book, we was $5.4 trillion in debt. And I said if we didn't get this thing cured, you know, kill this debt, 5.4 trillion, in 15 years, and I missed it a few years, we would be $20 trillion in debt. I think it's even greater than that. And you can see how debt compounds. Compounded interest on compounded interest as this grows and grows and grows. But let me tell you the story about baby Ruth. When I was in grade school, I was about 8 years of age, maybe 9, but I think I was 8, but I could have been 9. Our school teacher sent a note home and said that we was going to be going on a field trip, and we had the option of taking a sack lunch, or you could take some money with you, and the park that we was going to had a concession, and you could buy food and drinks at the concession stand. Well, my mom got the note, and guess what I got? I got a brown paper bag with fried chicken and mayonnaise sandwiches. You ever had mayonnaise sandwiches with fried chicken? Sounds kind of crazy, but I got to tell you one thing. It's pretty good with potato chips, and had carrot strips and celery strips and, you know, some fruit. And that was a brown paper bag. And my mom told me when she gave me my sack lunch to go on the trip, she says, now, honey, you make sure you bring that paper bag home. You know what? Mom and Dad used everything. And you know what they understood? Recycling. They recycled. They recycled. Even paper bags, my mom recycled. She just used them again and again and again until there was nothing left to them. Then you know what she did in the wintertime? She'd use that down the furnace. We had an old coal furnace, and guess what? They used the paper and all kinds of stuff, put into the old furnace and get it on fire and get the coal on fire. And you know what? We fed the old furnace with coal, but anything that would burn, we would put in that furnace to burn it. We'd open the lid, throw it in, and it'd burn it. Well, we went on that field trip, and I got to tell you one thing. Kids, oh man, we got out there. Boy, did we have fun. But I kept watching the kids that was in my class. They'd run over the concession stand. And what I did, I took my brown paper bag, but I also took a $10 bill. And $10 is a lot of money back in those days, $10 for an 8-year-old little boy. And I had a $10 bill, and all these kids went to the concession stand, and all day long, say all day long, they went over there and they bought soda pop, they bought candy bars, they bought hot dogs, they bought potato chips, popcorn, you name it. They just spent their money. And that old guy behind the cashier, he just took their money and kept taking and kept serving and kept taking. Well, I'd walk over there and I'd look up in there and I'd look and I'd see all of these Fingers and Baby Ruth candy bars, and I got to tell you, both of those candy bars is candy bars I really like to eat. But the Baby Ruth is my favorite. I've shared this story many decades, and you will not believe how many people in a seminar that I do for 3, 4, 5 days. I'll tell this story. You know what most people do the next day or the next day? Not all the people by no means, but there's people in the congregation. They'll do one or two things. They'll buy me a few Baby Ruths. Some of them bought me boxes of Baby Ruths, because when you hear this story, you'll understand about the boxes of Baby Ruths. And I'd ask the guy, how much does it cost to buy a candy bar? And he told me. I just shake my head, because I knew if I took my $10 bill and if I broke it, I wouldn't have $10. My $10 wouldn't become $11. My $10 may go to $9, and I wouldn't have my $10 bill. And see, I'd been trained all my life. You could buy anything, Ray, you wanted to buy, as long as it made money. Really, oh yeah. As long as it made money. You could spend anything. You want to buy an old sow that's going to have baby pigs. You want to buy a heifer or a cow that was going to have a baby calf, or a heifer that you could breed to have baby calves. I don't care what it was, as long as you spent the money to make money, you could spend as much as you wanted to. In real estate, guess what? You could go buy a house. You could go buy a farm. You could go buy anything that had potential of making money, but you couldn't spend money. Now that sounds crazy, but that's how I was brought up. Money had to make money. My $10 bill, guess what? I'd been trained that $10 bill had to make money. You couldn't spend it. I went up that concession stand, I'm not kidding you, probably 3 or 4 or 5 times, asking the guy the same question: how much are your candy bars? Well, late in the afternoon, the school teacher let out a war whoop, and by that time, the guy at the cashier stand, he knew me by my first name, and I hadn't spent any money yet. Still had my brown paper bag, and what ended up happening, the school teacher says, it's time to get on the bus. It's time to get on the bus. It's time to get on the bus. Well, guess what? All the kids, they was heading towards the bus. You know what I did? I lagged behind. And I was looking over that confession stand, and this guy was gathering everything up. This was on a Friday, late afternoon. And I went over there and I says, well, what are you doing? He says, I'm closing up shop. He said, another guy takes it over tonight, after about 5 o'clock. And he says, he's got it all weekend. And I said, really? He said, oh yeah, he's got it all weekend. So he's got it Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, and I get it Monday through Friday, but by 5 o'clock, I got to be gone. And I saw him loading up them Baby Ruths and them Butterfingers, and I said to him, I says, how much would you take for, a box of Baby Ruths? And he looked at me and he says, you want to buy the whole box? I said, yeah, I do. I want to buy the whole box. He says, Ray, if you buy both boxes, I'll sell you the Butterfinger box and the Baby Ruth box for $10. I said, really? You'd sell me both of those boxes for $10? He says, oh yeah. Oh my goodness gracious, I was so happy. Do you know I could taste that Baby Ruth before I ever peeled the wrappers off of it? Because my grandma Landers, guess what? She'd always give me a Baby Ruth. If I'd go in and mow the yard, she always had the hardest ice cubes you ever seen in your life. It had them old aluminum trays with the old handles, and you had to open them up. And them old ice cubes, you could take a hammer and smack them. And I'll tell you what, they was pretty hard. They was hard. And she'd pour Pepsi-Cola on the top of them ice cubes, and the fizz that came off, like, here's the Pepsi-Cola. Imagine this was Pepsi-Cola with the ice cubes, and on the very top, you'd see all the fizzes. And I'd put that Pepsi-Cola right up to my nose, and I gotta tell you, I'd sip. I wouldn't drink. I would sip that Pepsi-Cola. And she'd give me a Baby Ruth, and I'd tell you what, I just loved it. Oh my goodness, it was the greatest thing you had ever, I could just taste it. So I gave the guy my double-bagged bag that had 2 bags in one, and guess what? He put both boxes of candy bars on the top. They were in the sack, and on the top was a Baby Ruth, that what I really wanted to eat. So I get in the school bus, and a lot of the kids is sitting here and sitting there. But you know where I went to sit? Right in the middle of the school bus, adjacent to somebody that was already in the seat. And I'm sitting there, and you know what? The teacher's counting everybody, and I get this sack and I put it on my lap. And what I did, I brought out that box of baby Ruth's, and I put the Butterfingers down on the ground that was in the sack between my feet, so they wasn't going to go nowhere. And I opened the lid up, and I got me a baby Ruth. And just imagine this is your baby Ruth bar. And you know what I did? So slowly, I went and tore the top of it off, started peeling it back, and there's my baby Ruth. And I could taste it before I ever put it into my mouth. I was like a dog on a raw piece of meat. My saliva glands was already activated, knowing that I know that that candy bar was going to go into my mouth, and I was going to eat that candy bar. And I put it in my mouth, and I pulled it off, had a chunk of it in my mouth. I just closed my eyes, and oh my goodness, it tasted so good. And the kids said, "What are you going to do with all them candy bars?" I smiled at him. I says, "Do you want to buy a candy bar?" He said, "Oh yeah." Now this sounds crazy, but it was true. I said, "Give me $1." And you want to know something? It did. He had no value of $1 bill. It didn't cost $1 back in those days to buy a candy bar. But you know what I did? I sold him a candy bar for $1. Guess what happened within minutes? Everybody around me wanted to buy a candy bar. Now there's 72 kids, say 72 kids, that was on that bus. I don't think I had 72 candy bars, but I can tell you one thing I do know. When I came home, I had all them candy bars sold. I had a couple candy bars for myself, and I was just smiling from ear to ear. And I went home that night, and Mom said, how'd the field trip go? I said, "Oh, Mom, it was wonderful." She says, "Really?" I said, "Yeah." I said, "You know that $10 bill you gave me?" I said, "It's 40." And she says, "What?" I said, "Oh, yeah." And I told her the story of how I took that $10 bill and bought 2 boxes of candy bars. And, you know, I thought all day long. Do you think a little boy 8 years of age, stopped and thought and thought and thought and thought and thought and thought, if I spend my $10, I'm not going to have $10. You know what I'm going to have? Maybe $9. And you want to know something? I had to figure out how can you take $10 and make it grow. Make it grow. You know, if you buy, you know, in the livestock business, if you have an old cow and you buy a cow and you spend money on an old cow and she has a baby calf and say she has a heifer. You know what? A heifer can never be an old cow. But guess what happens after a year? You could breed the heifer to a bull, and 9 months later, you know, it takes 9 months for a cow or a heifer to have a baby calf. Well, guess what? You could have one old cow, and now, guess what? She could be bred again. The heifer could be bred, and in 2 years, guess what? One became what? 4. Really? Oh, yeah. Yeah, they can grow. The money you spent on one cow, guess what? It kept growing. It kept growing. It kept growing. It's like money. Money has babies. You say what? Oh, yeah. Money has babies. You say, "Ray, how in the world could money have babies?" Well, it's pretty simple. You know why it's simple? It's because when you look at interest, say interest on money, and you look at what interest will make on interest, you know, I used to tell the story all the time that, you know what, if you took at 20 years of age and you started saving a little bit of money every month, say you save $40 or $50 a week, at the end of the year you save $2,000. And if you put that $2,000 away, guess what? And you did that from age 20 to age 62, you know what? That's 42 years. Times 2, you'd save $84,000. Well, that's, you know, pretty good money. Really, it is. 84,000 is good. But if you never touched the money that the money made on the money, and back in the old days, say you got 2-3%, you know, on your money like we get today, Well, guess what? $2,000. You wouldn't think too much about it, but you know what? You'd make $40 or $60, and you let that $40 or $60 make a few dollars on it. But you do it for 40 years, 42 years. Do you know if you figured this thing out and really figured it out, do you know you'd be a millionaire? You'd be worth over $1 million in retirement. Actually, when interest was higher, I used to figure it out, and I would show people that that $84,000 would turn into about $1.8 million invested in interest. And if you had 12% interest, and a lot of investments that you had could make 12%, that's 1% a month. And what realize, you got to realize that 12%, if you have understand the law of 72, say 72, divide 12% interest into 72. 12 into 72 is 6. Do you know $1 in 6 years will be $2? And another 6 years, that $2 will be $4, and then 8 and 16 and 32 and 64 and 128 and 256. Say $250, 500, 1,000, 2,000, 4,000, 8,000, 16, 32,000. All of a sudden, your head will just absolutely spin how just 1 year's worth of income in a 40-year period of time, how many times it just multiplies. Well, at a young age, if you understand how to work on things and how to invest and how to buy and how to do things, you know what? I shared this story the other day with these little kids on baby Ruth. They didn't understand anything about the $40, but you know what every one of them wanted? They wanted to buy a baby Ruth. We want a baby Ruth. We want a baby Ruth. We want a baby Ruth. You know what they knew? They knew to spend money and spend their money to buy what? A baby Ruth. I want to buy a baby Ruth. You know what? You can go into a store and just buy a bunch of nothing. I mean nothing. And you want to know something? You'll spend $50, $100 so fast shopping, it'll make your head spin. You know, one time what I did at Walmart, you know, everything you put through it going beep, 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 beep. You know what? She told me what the price was, the cashier, and I says, how about a $50 bill? She looked at me with a puzzled face. She says, no, here's the price. I says, no, I'll give you $50 for all this. She thought I was a character. She says, what are you doing? I says, well, you go to Mexico, you go different area, you barter. You know what? You learn how to buy, how to sell, how to trade. Do you know in America today, guess what? I don't think too many people know how to buy, sell, and trade. You know what? You look at a car dealer, they understand how to trade your car, take your car for nothing, and buy it from you wholesale, sell you their car retail, and guess what they make? Say a profit. They make money. Most people, all they know how to do is spend, spend, spend. They don't have a clue. They don't have a clue how to give some money away. Give it away. Learn to give away. I don't care what it is. If your closets are full, if your garages are full, if the barns are full, if everything you got is full, 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 if you haven't used that thing in 2 or 3 years, start deaccumulate. This spring, guess what I'm going to do? I'm going to do some more deaccumulating. You can't believe what you can accumulate. And you say, what do I need all this stuff for? You don't. You don't. You want to know if you got the spirit of poverty behind you? When you say, I don't have enough money. I don't. I can't buy that. I don't have the money. I don't. And you're scared to death to even move. And you know what? I can't. I don't. I am broke. I am this. I am that. I'm depressed. I'm this. Do you know what you're saying into the spiritual realm right now? You are saying, I am. And in the 10 Commandments, you know what it says? Don't use God's name in vain. What? Don't use his name in vain. Don't do that. Don't use his name in vain. Little kids needs to understand how to speak words. Parents, listen to me. They need to know how to say words that I am blessed. I'm smart. I'm going to be great. I'm going to excel. I'm going to be great in sports. I am going to exceed. You know, they're saying I am. Moses, when he went to the burning bush, God said, take your shoes off. He did. He became a slave because he never had his shoes off to who? God, Elohim, the God of heaven and earth. And Moses said, what is your name? He says, I am that I am. Really? Oh, yeah. I am that I am. Do you know what I am means? It means everything. Don't tell me the children of Israel did not know every name of Jehovah. They did. Jehovah Shalom, Jehovah Jireh, Jehovah Nissi, Jehovah, Jehovah, Jehovah. Every name meant something. I am that I am. And God said to Moses, you tell the children of Israel when you get to Egypt, I am sent you to free you. They knew what that meant. Children, parents, grandparents, listen to me. They need to know how to take care of pennies. They need to know how many pennies makes $1. They need to know how to take 2 or 3 cents out of that dollar and give first fruits unto the Lord. They need to be able to take 10 pennies and put 10 pennies into the kingdom of God by tithing to where they're going to church. They need to take another 10 cents and put in their piggy bank and don't spend it. And guess what? The money they have left, enjoy it. Say what? Oh yeah, go enjoy it. But you know what? Even with that money, you can enjoy it, having fun buying something, selling something, using that money to make more money, to have more money. And it's not all about money, folks, because there's a demon spirit that's called mammon that controls your heart with money. And I'll teach that. We've been taught Matthew 6:24 that can't serve God and mammon. The church world, the spirit of religion will teach you that mammon is money. Folks, when Joshua crossed the River Jordan, all the ites had pagan gods, and there's a demon spirit behind them. The Philistines and Syrians was tied, when you look at the word mammonos, to deify, to personify wealth as a god. You want to know something? Mammon has a demon spirit behind it, and it was a Philistine god. It's not mammon is not money. Mammon is a pagan god, and that spirit that is behind that false god, that pagan god, will attach itself to your heart, and people will lie and steal and cheat and kill over what? Say money. Say money. Say money, 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 money. Say it. Say money. Billy Sue, could you come here a minute? Folks, I don't want to be rude, but I got 27 minutes and 42 seconds, and I got to shut this thing off before 30 minutes is up, because on YouTube, for some reason, I lose you. But I'm going to pick this back up, and I got to tell you one thing. This is part 1, and there'll be another part 2 and part 3. So Billy Sue's going to end it, and God bless you guys. Hit share. Oops.
You ended it already.
I did not.
Okay.
It's still going. It's still going. It's 28 minutes and 12 seconds. I thought it had a little red button. Hit share.